Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bill reveals Luna's fate while Will scrambles to save Electra. Will shows up on the scene and rushes to Electra's aid as they struggle. Will bursts onto the scene as Remy declares that he will not be leaving without Electra. Will cautiously moves in to try to calm Remy down as he appears about to push Electra over the edge. "This is not necessary for you to accomplish," Will yells. Katie acknowledges that she was mistaken to overreact and terminate Electra as they continue to talk about the perils of AI. Ivy restates that Electra was unaware that deepfakes had been made public when she was residing in Texas, but that once the pictures were posted online, they quickly became viral. "You have no idea how many girls are experiencing this," Ivy says. According to Ivy, anyone can experience it, and celebrities have entire public relations departments to handle such situations. Once more, they question who might be after Electra, and Katie promises to utilize every resource available to Forrester to track down the culprit. Before Will, who is intent on punishing the offender, finds out who it was, she hopes. Will has been a true hero for her niece, according to Ivy. Remy and Will go into a physical battle after Electra manages to escape from him. It appears as though Will might push Remy over the edge as punches are exchanged. However, Will takes Electra into his arms and leaves after hitting Remy, who collapses on the ground. Naturally, this gives Remy the freedom to flee. Electra is reassured by Will that Remy will be located by the police. Will declares, "I was never going to let him hurt you." Will entices her into a passionate kiss after she begs him to never let her go. Luna is pushed through the gate of the prison by the guards. Bill remarks, "There's no way you can rehabilitate under those conditions," as she examines her unchained hands and feet. Luna is accompanying him home. Luna and Bill are indeed entering his house before the following commercial break. He promises to answer all of her inquiries, but only after she shares her feelings. Perplexed, she acknowledges. She is wearing an ankle bracelet, and he discloses that she is under house arrest. He claims he made a deal with the authorities by using his power. She can live with him as long as she doesn't make a mistake. She is not allowed to leave his property, among other restrictions, and no one can ever find out that she is there. The rest of the world must assume that she is still incarcerated. What if her mother pays her a visit when she is incarcerated? "I'll take care of that," Bill adds. Fortunately, RJ isn't there, so you don't have to worry about him coming to see her. Bill threatens to send Luna back to jail if she disobeys the rules. He has taken advantage of every favor he can get, used every connection he has, and will never be able to assist her again. Bill responds that he's done worse when she wonders why he's helping. "Really, Bill? You didn't kill 2 people. He claims that even though the state didn't award her the death penalty, her imprisonment would be equivalent to 1. "For people like us, self-preservation is crucial," he states. "Given how we were brought up, it must be. We take dramatic measures when we feel threatened. Unimaginable, dark stuff. But placing someone in a hole won't drive away that darkness. Luna, you have a chance here, but you're not free." Luna expresses her gratitude to Bill and her fear of being imprisoned. He reminds her that although she is free to go outside, she is not permitted to leave the estate. She promises to change. She says, "I just want to put everything that happened and everything I did in the past." Since he wants her to be the best version of herself, he concurs. She is still curious as to what this holds for him. It all comes down to him not being most people and not wanting to witness her being harmed, if not killed. She is unsure of how to express her gratitude. "It was very evident to me from your letters and our conversations that what you did is not who you are," he says. "What was done to you was the cause of it. Things that I comprehend." He acknowledges that a significant portion of his dishonest behavior was motivated by his own background, and he made a valiant effort to overcome it. He was able to help her and move on because of his wealth and position. He claims that the chaos that was brought into our lives is what ties them together and that he wants to provide her stability, which they have never had. He wants her to lead a normal life, which includes living in a mansion where no one else knows she's there and hanging out with a person she made out with even though she used to believe he was her father. She finds this unbelievable. That sort of everyday existence. For a brief minute, it appears as though they could kiss as he draws her into an embrace. According to Thursday, January 2nd spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Remy Price refused to leave without Electra Forrester, despite Will Spencer's attempts to persuade him to do so. When Electra eventually squirmed out of Remy's hold, Will intervened and engaged Remy in physical combat. Will decked Remy, despite the fact that Remy had Will against the railing and appeared to intend to hurl him down to the street below. Will cradled Electra in his consoling arms as Remy ran off. Will promised Electra he wouldn't let her go and kissed her when she emphasized how safe she felt. Ivy Forrester and Katie Logan continued to talk about the potential dangers of deepfakes and how they have destroyed lives at Forrester Creations. Katie made a prediction about putting things right for Electra and was resolved to utilize all of Forrester's resources to assist her. Ivy and Katie wondered if Will had located Electra yet, as they hadn't heard from him since he went in search of her. They talked on how much Will loved Electra and what a great young man he was. Luna Nozawa was thrilled to return to the Spencer estate after Bill Spencer told her that she was going home with him on Thursday's B&B episode. When they got there, they discovered that Luna would be spending the rest of her term on house arrest and that she now had an ankle monitor. Although Luna was unable to leave the property, she would be protected from the other prisoners who had been pursuing her. Bill also cautioned that since he intended to keep everything secret, Luna couldn't tell anyone. Luna understood that if Bill's loved ones learned what he had done for her, they would despise him. Bill indicated he could deal with Luna's concerns about Poppy Nozawa, Romy Park, seeing her again and asking questions at the jail. But Bill pulled every last string he had, so it was obvious that Luna couldn't mess this up. Luna would return to jail if she made a mistake, and Bill couldn't save her from going through this again. Since she had all she needed on the farm, Luna didn't mind being unable to go. Bill said that he couldn't put her in danger, even if Luna didn't understand why he would do something so extraordinary for her. Because of their comparable pasts, Bill was able to relate to Luna and understood what it felt like to be pushed to the limit. Additionally, Bill wanted to give Luna the opportunity to become the finest version of herself because he understood that she could not recover under such difficult circumstances. Luna gave Bill another hug and looked at him lovingly, assuring him that he wouldn't regret this. According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill's covert plan will undoubtedly be revealed soon, so keep checking back for more information on how the word of Luna's house detention will spread. As Will was ready to raid the dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town, the tension had escalated to a fever pitch. Inside, Electra was still imprisoned, chained to a chair, her blazing rebellion unquenchable in spite of the bruises on her face and the fatigue carved into her body. Her captor, Remy, walked back and forth, his evil grin concealing the tempest that was building within of him. He had been planning for weeks to use Electra's knowledge and connections to further his subterranean empire, but her stubborn nature and refusal to work with him had derailed his plans. Will, on the other hand, had come to this point by assembling every tidbit of information and breadcrumb that Electra had left behind throughout her brief period of independence. He was aware that time was of the importance and that Electra might suffer a fate worse than death if there was any more delay. With the help of his experience as a former special operative, Will moved without making any noise. He motioned for his tiny group to take their places with a flick of his hand. The strategy was straightforward but crucial: divert attention, take down Remy's guards, and free Electra before things got out of hand. Its simplicity, yet, did not lessen its threat. According to the intelligence, Remy had strengthened his defenses in anticipation of a rescue effort. Will's thoughts was a battleground of strategic maneuvers and the weight of his personal stake in rescuing Electra as the seconds passed. She was more than just a target, she was a lighthouse that he couldn't afford to lose and the one who had rescued him from his own darkness. The signal arrived. Remy's men were drawn away by a sudden explosion at the far end of the warehouse, their cries resonating as they hurried to evaluate the situation. Will moved quickly and purposefully as he dashed through the darkness. They looked at each other when he arrived at the room where Electra was being held. Her eyes glowed with relief and resolve, yet her voice was firm, alerting him to danger. "Behind you," a guard lunged out of the shadows as she snarled. Will's instinct made him spin, and his martial experience took control, causing him to quickly subdue the attacker. Will muttered, "Let's leave," in a tone that was both urgent and reassuring. Together, they made their way through the maze-like warehouse after he broke her shackles and helped her stand up. However, the escape was anything but easy. Recognizing the distraction, Remy reorganized his troops and was now pursuing. The anxious air was punctuated by the thunderous sounds of gunfire. Will protected Electra, his determination unwavering as he put her safety first. A getaway car was waiting when they eventually blasted out the warehouse doors into the crisp night air. As they drove off, Electra, despite her injuries, mustered a wry smile. Despite the seriousness of their escape, she joked, "You always did have a flair for the dramatic." Will laughed, clearly relieved, but his thoughts were already on the next course of action. Their ordeal was far from finished, but Electra was safe for the time being. On the other side of town, a completely different scenario was taking place. Unspoken anxiety pervaded the air as Bill and Luna made their way back home. Visibly shaken, Luna attempted to remain calm as she thought through what had happened up to this point. After being released from prison under suspicious circumstances, she ended up in Bill's care. As they entered his vast estate, Bill, who has always been a mystery, suddenly broke the silence. "You're not free," he stated in a tone that was emotionless and icy. "I have you now." Luna's eyes widened at the shock of his words, leaving her temporarily stunned. "My prisoner? Inmate? You bring me here only to shackle me once more after everything I've been through?" Her voice quivered with a mixture of fear and rage as she demanded. Bill poured himself a glass, his motions meticulous, his face unreadable. With a matter-of-fact tone, he responded, "Think of it as a different kind of cage." He moved closer, his frightening yet oddly composed demeanor. "One where you're under my control, and every move serves a purpose, my purpose. Luna, you have taken decisions. Decisions that brought you to me. I'll make sure you continue to be helpful now." Luna's thoughts were racing. She was aware that Bill was a powerful individual who enjoyed using others to further his own agenda. However, there was another aspect to his mannerisms, a hint of something unsaid, possibly even contradictory. "What are you looking for from me?" With a more subdued tone and a hint of cautious curiosity, she asked. Bill's eyes were sharp as he leaned back. "That's what makes it so lovely. You will discover soon enough." Luna struggled to accept the truth of her circumstances as the night became darker. The lavishness of Bill's estate concealed the sinister undercurrents of intimidation and control, making it both a stronghold and a prison. Ever resourceful, Luna, however, decided not to allow Bill to crush her spirit. She started assessing, figuring, and strategizing. She had to play the game as viciously as Bill if she wanted to live, and maybe even reverse the odds. Electra was at last able to sleep at Will's safe house, but her thoughts was anything but calm. She was emotionally and physically exhausted by the events of the previous several days, yet she couldn't shake the nagging sense that their struggle was far from finished. Perceiving her distress, Will sat next to her, his presence calming. With a hint of vulnerability and thankfulness in her voice, Electra whispered, "You saved me." Will gave a headshake. "You were able to save yourself." They exchanged a silent understanding, their relationship bolstered by the terrifying event. "I just gave you a way out." Yet even as they took comfort in one another's company, Bill and Luna's shadow hung over them. Their lives were now inextricably linked, creating the conditions for a struggle for survival, courage, and cunning. Will and Electra were aware that they couldn't afford to be careless. The struggle was about regaining their independence and changing the terms of a game they hadn't decided to play, not just about getting away from their foes. Bill, meantime, observed Luna from his study, a glimmer of uncertainty piercing his typically unflappable exterior. Despite his dominance and authority, he couldn't get rid of the impression that Luna was more than a mere pawn in his ambitious plan. Unpredictable and potentially deadly, she was a wild card. And it grew more and more obvious that their conflict would be explosive as the days turned into nights. The distinction between savior and saved, captor and captive, was extremely thin in this world of intrigue and high stakes. One thing was clear: as the players moved their pieces, everything will alter in the finale. Will was crouching behind a splintering pile of ancient crates, breathing steadily despite the adrenaline pumping through his veins, and the atmosphere was charged with suspense. Although it wasn't his first high-stakes rescue operation, this one was the most intimate. Remy, the vicious kingpin whose depravity knew no limits, was holding Electra captive somewhere in this abandoned warehouse. Electra wasn't merely a victim of luck, she had discovered information that had the potential to destroy Remy's whole business. That made her a liability as well as a reward, and Remy would do anything in his power to keep her under control. Failure was not an option for Will. He owed everything to Electra. He had found a purpose beyond the shadows of his past because of her, and she was the reason he had changed his life. With its broken windows illuminating the chilly concrete floors with ragged patches of moonlight, the warehouse towered like a castle of misery. Inside, Remy and his faithful guards sat at the head of a makeshift throne. Though her face was marred by bruises, Electra was restrained to a chair in the middle of the room, her head held high. Her unwavering resistance served as a catalyst for Remy's sadistic gratification. He leaned closer and snarled, "I'll give you that you have guts. However, courage won't save you. I might let you live if you tell me what you know." Electra fixed him with a determined look. She spat, her voice calm despite the sorrow in her voice, "You'll never get what you want from me. Behind your thugs, you are nothing more than a coward." Remy's expression hardened, and he became irritable. He got to his feet, attracting everyone's attention with the metallic clink of his blade. The sound of an explosion echoed through the warehouse, causing the walls to tremble and the place to descend into chaos before he could move another step. "You have a sharp tongue, but I can fix that." The enormous chamber echoed with the yells of Remy's guards as they rushed to evaluate the situation, filling the air with smoke. Will moved like a shadow, deftly navigating through the chaos. His planned distraction was effectively deflecting attention from his real goal, which was Electra. He ran across his first barrier as he got closer to them, a guard who had remained to defend Remy's loot. Will hit without hesitation, his special ops training taking control. The guard was left unconscious on the ground after a short but vicious battle. Will, as he came out of the smoke, Electra's voice was a mix of relief and incredulity. Kneeling next to her, he swiftly severed the cords that chained her wrists. "It's me," he stated quietly in a comforting tone. "Let's leave you here." However, their reconciliation didn't last long. Remy's voice sliced like a razor through the confusion as they turned to go. "Are you going somewhere?" The kingpin appeared, his icy eyes narrowing as he assessed his opponent. A gang of armed men appeared behind him, their firearms aimed at Will and Electra. With a defensive stance, Will shoved Electra behind him. "Remy, this is over now," he said firmly. "If you let her go, you might survive this." Remy gave a low, threatening laugh. "You believe you can go right in here and set the rules? I'll give you that you have guts. However, courage won't save you." In an instant, the situation intensified. Will's actions were a blur of speed and accuracy as he pounced at Remy. The two men engaged in a vicious duel, with each hit carrying the weight of their animosity. Remy was no amateur, he used every tactic in the book to get the advantage in his fight. Will, however, resisted every move with unwavering focus and persistence. There was anarchy all around them. Despite being weaker, Electra repelled a guard who attempted to seize her, demonstrating her resourcefulness by making use of her environment. With all her effort, she swung a broken pipe and knocked her attacker to the ground. Will and Remy's altercation came to a head as they struggled close to a dangerous precipice. Desperate and furious, Remy drew a knife from his belt and pointed it at Will's throat. Will was quicker, though. He disarmed Remy with a quick, well-planned motion that sent the blade bouncing across the floor. He then delivered a forceful blow that knocked Remy to the ground. Will stood over his fallen enemy, his hands clenched, breathing furiously. It appeared for a split second that he may strike the last blow, but Electra's voice drew him back. "Don't, Will. He isn't worth it." Will took a step back, clarity replacing his rage. "You're right," he stated in a firm yet hushed voice. He turned to assist Electra in standing up. "Leave now." The sound of sirens filled the air as they headed for the exit. To ensure that Remy and his enterprise would be permanently dismantled, Will had summoned troops. After storming the warehouse, the police secured the area and arrested Remy. Finally, Will and Electra took a time to relax outside under the cool night sky. "You came for me," Electra replied in a quiet but appreciative tone. Will looked into her eyes and said, "Always. I would definitely do it again." Although their experience had left them damaged and beaten, it had also made their relationship stronger. Their tenacity was more evident than ever after they had triumphed over the darkness together. They knew their battle was far from done as the first rays of dawn appeared on the horizon. They had won, though, and that was sufficient for the time being.